Who is we? Who am I? We is a dystopian novel by Russian writer Yevgeny Zamyatin. It was written after the First World War and in the middle of the Russian Revolution. In 1921, We became the first work banned by the Soviet censorship board. In 1923, Zamyatin arranged for the manuscript of his novel, We, to be smuggled to E.P. Dutton and Company in New York City. It was translated into English by Russian refugee Gregory Zilborg, and the novel was published in 1924. Then, in 1927, Zamyatin went further. He smuggled the original Russian text to the editor of an anti-communist magazine and publishing house based in Prague. Copies of the Czechoslovakian edition began to be smuggled back into the USSR and secretly passed from hand to hand. Zamyatin's secret dealings with Western publishers triggered a mass offensive by the Soviet state against him. Another translator, Mira Ginsburg, says of Zamyatin, he was a man of incorruptible and uncompromising courage. In 1931, Zamyatin appealed directly to Soviet General Secretary Joseph Stalin, requesting permission to leave the Soviet Union. Zamyatin wrote, "I do not wish to conceal the basic reason for my request for permission to go abroad with my wife is my hopeless position here as a writer, the death sentence that has been pronounced upon me as a writer here at home." Zamyatin asked Maxim Gorky to intercede with Stalin on his behalf, and Zamyatin left the Soviet Union in November 1931. He lived for another 6 years in Paris and died in poverty of a heart attack on March 10th, 1937. He was only 53 years old. I have one of the latest editions of We. It's from 2021, still available today. It has an introduction by Margaret Atwood. It has a review of the novel by George Orwell before he wrote 1984. It also has an essay by Ursula K. Le Guin. I found these extra pieces to be very informative. The book itself is structured in logs. There's 40 logs within this book. The first-person narrative is by our protagonist, D-503, or D503. Each log has what was called a brief, concise notes of what's in the chapter. This one says, "No, I can't, and no brief this time." Or another one would be, for this one, for log 28, both of them, entropy and energy, an opaque part of the body. So you see, these are just succinct notes on what's coming in the chapter. Now, the entries themselves don't have any paragraph indentation. These are just basically notes taken by our narrator, our protagonist. D503 is a spacecraft engineer in charge of the project building a spaceship called the Integral. For D503, mathematics rules all. He's living in a society with timetables and observed at all time. How? They live literally in glass houses. Their buildings are built out of glass. The only time that we really hear about blinds being drawn is when appointments are made for sexual liaisons. It appears that Zamyatin has been influenced by the thoughts of Jeremy Bentham and F.W. Taylor. English philosopher and social theorist Jeremy Bentham in the 18th century came up with a design called the panopticon. He created circular prisons with a guard tower in the middle. The concept is to allow all prisoners in their cells to be observed by a single prison officer without the inmates knowing whether or not they are being watched. And F.W. Taylor was an American mechanical engineer. He was known for his methods of improving industrial efficiency. He summed up his efficiency techniques in his book, The Principles of Scientific Management, which came out in 1909. So we see a version of surveillance of Bentham's panopticon here in this glass city, this one state. Residents never know if what they're doing is being watched. And we also have efficiency with every hour of the day planned for the residents. To be scheduled and observed is a form of unfreedom. This unfreedom is the ultimate form of happiness. The society is run by the benefactor who provides them this schedule, this unfreedom. People are numbered. It's a nameless society. These designations continue that theme of a mathematical structure. The one state is now wanting to reach out beyond Earth and bring their structure to other planets. Integral is the first spaceship of that plan. D503 has a lover, O90, and they're designated some nights together. But O90 also has another lover, who happens to be D503's friend, R13. But throw into this triangle another woman who draws D503's attention, I330. I330 rebels by drinking and smoking and flirting with D503. D503 should rightly report these acts, but he doesn't. There's something about I330 which awakens something within him, something that he does not like. He's both attracted and repelled by her, not wanting to break the structure which he lives in. I330 invites him to Ancient House, the only opaque building in the city. It is a place where they house some artifacts from the previous civilization, our civilization. It is a place where the state cannot observe you. D503 unwittingly finds himself drawn into being complicit with I330. Will he be able to resist these rebellious feelings that are now drawn out by I330? These go completely opposite to his plans, the plans of the state. And what is I330 after? Is there a greater resistance here, one that goes beyond the walls of this city? Instead of we only, is there also an I? Here are a couple interesting quotes from the book. On page 47, D503 reads in the newspaper, a single short line. According to credible sources, there is new evidence of an elusive organization striving for liberation from the beneficent yoke of the one state. Liberation? It was beyond belief. Humanity's criminal instincts were clearly alive and kicking. I intentionally use the word criminal. Freedom and crime are as inextricably linked as, well, the motion of an arrow and its velocity. When an arrow's velocity equals 0, it doesn't move. When a person's freedom equals 0, he doesn't commit any crimes. That much is clear. The only way to eradicate crime is to eradicate freedom. And now, when we've only just eliminated it, on the cosmic scale, centuries are, of course, only just, suddenly, some kind of miserable imbeciles. No, it doesn't make any sense. Why didn't I go to the Bureau of Guardians immediately yesterday? D503 is referring to turning in I330. And on page 76, D503 reflects on being in a paradise. Now we're as simple and innocent as Adam and Eve. No more confusion about good and evil. It's all so simple that even a child can understand, just as it should be in paradise. The benefactor, the machine, the cube, the gas bell, the guardians, all this good, magnificent, beautiful, noble, lofty, and crystal. Because all these things are here to protect our unfreedom, or in other words, our happiness. And then on page 85, D503 is in conversation with I30. She says, "Do you like fog? The ancient, long-forgotten you, as a master would say to a slave, came into me sharply and slowly. Yes, I'm a slave. That's good and right too. Yes, good, I said aloud to myself, and then to her, I hate fog. I'm afraid of it. Which means you love it. You're afraid of it because it's more powerful than you. You hate it because you're afraid, and love it because you can't subjugate it. After all, the only things you can truly love are things you can't subjugate." Yes, this is true. And this is exactly why I... And here we can see D503 breaking down. There's another point where they also have a conversation about rebellion. I330 says, "Are numbers finite or infinite?" Of course, there is no last number, D503 says. And in that way, I330 says, there is no final rebellion. Ursula K. Le Guin, in her essay about the book in this edition, closes with this statement: "Revolution is everywhere, in everything. It is infinite. There is no final revolution. There is no final number." I found this novel easy to get into. I wasn't expecting there to be a spaceship being built within this novel. Eventually, though, things became a little bit more poetic and philosophical, reflecting on Bentham and Taylor. This was about the collective versus the individual, an all or none take on it. Now, I don't want to get too much further story-wise, but there is a story. We see what happens to the relationships, what happens to those opposed to the benefactor. We also get to see what's beyond the walls. Its ending is both beautiful and poignant. Zamyatin's use of a first-person log for D503 works well and often waxes poetic. There's beauty in this novel, as well as harshness. It's very obvious that other dystopian novels of the 20th century were influenced by this vision. We was cutting edge of its time and still speaks to us today. I highly recommend this novel. I give it 9 out of 10. This was a very, very good read. Now, this is my first read for Rocket Summer. My viewers voted for this novel to be read and reviewed, and I thank them. What a great experience it was. I look forward to sharing more novels and reviews coming up this month. Until next time, keep reading.